Welcome to this puzzle session. Here is the problem. 15 chairs are evenly placed around a circular table. So you can imagine one chair here, one chair there, and a total of 15 chairs. On the table are name cards of 15 guests which are to arrive. So these are all name cards. So there are 15 guests, they have 15 different names, and on each position, or rather on each, in front of each chair, there is some name card kept, and supposedly the guest is, you want to have the guest seated at the correct name card, meaning against his own name card. But it so happens that after the guests are seated, it is found that actually no guest is sitting in front of his own name card. So they are completely misplaced. We want to show that one can rotate the table so that at least two of the guests are simultaneously correctly seated, meaning simultaneously seated in front of their own name card. So one is allowed to rotate the table either, whatever is this angle. This angle is basically 2 pi by 15. So you can rotate by that much, or twice of that much, or thrice of that much. So that rotation is allowed. And we want to show that there is a rotation which at least gets us two guests correctly seated. Okay, it's a fairly interesting puzzle. As usual, you're encouraged to pause the video and find the solution for yourself before we look at what I'm going to discuss. And now let us move on. So let me start. So first we will set things up a little bit. So let's say the guests have these names. Let the guests have names from 1 to 15. So the numbers are names, convenient. Okay, and now initially table is in some position and we can rotate it. So when I say position of the table, I just mean some rotated orientation of the table. So for a position P of the table, we define DIP as 1 if the ith guest is correctly seated when the table is at position P, and 0 otherwise. Okay, and let's say NP is the total number of guests which are correctly seated when the table is at position P. Okay, so one thing we can immediately note is that NP is nothing but this summation. This is immediate. What our goal? Our goal is to show that there is a position such that the number of guests correctly seated when the table is at position P is at least 2. So the symbol is for their existence. So that is the goal, and now let us try to execute the main ideas. Fine. Let's keep all those definitions in mind. Okay. So we start with this. For any position P, we have NP is equal to this summation. Okay. So if we sum over all positions, so this summation is running over all possible positions, which are 15 many. We know that there are 15 positions the table can be in. So this summation is obviously this much. And we shuffle the summations. Right? But this is something that we can calculate. The summation inside is something that we can calculate. As you run over all the positions, how many times the ith guest is correctly placed, correctly seated? Exactly once. Right? So this is nothing but 15. Because this summation is 1 and therefore this summation is 15. So we see that this thing is 15. Alright. But if P0 is the original position, of the table, which is when none of the guests are correctly seated, then NP0 is 0. So this equation we will write down in a separate way. This is NP0 plus all the positions which are different from P0. This is 15. But NP0 is 0, so P different from P0. NP is 15. Alright, great. So what we have is, we have 14, these are 14 numbers because there are 14 positions which are different from P0. So 14 numbers sum up to 15. And therefore, if we divide both sides by 14, we have something greater than 1. And since each of these, these are just integers, so these take values 0 or 1 or 2 and so on, it must happen that some NP is at least 2, because if each NP were less than or equal to 1, then this couldn't exceed 1. So therefore, there exists P star a position P star such that NP star is at least 2, and we are done. This is what we wanted to show. So this is what we had written here. So that's it. Very nice solution. And with that, I want to end this. As usual, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you next time.